Hello world, this is Shannon Thompson, I hope one of your favorite makeup artists. And today I'm coming to you from the pretty department, yay. Now, before we get into what we're going to talk about today on this YouTube video, let's first talk about me and my book. I know, I'm going to sell my book for a minute. So, if you haven't gotten my book, Makeup is Just Color Dirt, I know, clever name, right? You should go ahead and pick it up. It's available everywhere books are sold and Amazon.com. Pick it up and learn all this information and so much more. Step-by-step tutorials are in this book. You can even have the book up and just look at it and practice at the same time. Also, follow my Instagram page, which is Makeup Thompson. Thompson is Thompson. Look at that. It's even singy-songy. And since you're on YouTube, just click the subscribe channel. It's right there, right at the bottom. So you can learn all this information and so much more. I even have step-by-step makeup tutorials on it. So that's all the information. That's my 16-second plug. So let's get into the pretty department and the professional series. Today we're talking about money again. That's right, but we're going to talk about non-union money. All right, so if you're not a part of the Makeup Artist Union, don't fret. Some people are never a part of the Makeup Artist Union. That does not mean that you cannot get paid and you cannot work professionally in this industry. So if you want to work in TV and film, all right, and you are maybe thinking about getting into the union or never thinking about getting into the union, you will be a part of what we call non-union makeup artists, all right? All right. So non-union, you are negotiating your own rate. You are still a freelancer, okay, all right? So you're in the freelancer bracket, but it's a little bit more wiggle room or complicated. What I mean by that is that you can work on TV and film, but the rate is not going to be a guaranteed rate. They're normally going to either ask you what your rate is, or you're going to tell them what your rate is, or they'll tell you what the rate is that they have to be able to pay you. So here's a prime example, okay? So you are working on an independent film, it is non-union, and they're saying, hey, this is what we're paying the makeup artist. We're paying them $30 an hour, okay? All right? Which is super, super high. Or they may pay you $150 a day. Not a day, not a date. Even though it does sometimes feel like you're on a date, but you're at work. So, they'll say it's $150 a day. $150 a day is a 12-hour day. Keep that in mind, all right? Starting. So that roughly breaks down to sometimes like $8 or $9 an hour, just depend on it, all right? As well, depending on the job or so forth and so on. So keep in mind that, they're telling you what that rate is. You can sometimes negotiate and say, all right, $150 a day is, a lower rate. I normally charge, $250 a day. Sometimes they'll say, hey, yeah, okay, we can maybe come up to $200 a day, maybe not $250, or they may say, no, our rate is $150, that's all that we have, and this particular thing, you have to be the judge on whether you want to do the job or you don't want to do the job for those things. So sometimes they ask you what your rate is, and sometimes they're going to tell you this is the amount of money we have in order for you to do it, and this is the amount of days that we have for you to do that as well. So non-union, again, the rate isn't they're also not a majorly high rates as well. Again, you're trying to get your feet wet, understand how the union works. Understand how the film industry works. Understand how to make money, build a team. Because sometimes you start off as a department head in non-union if you're working in film because you're the only makeup artist. So if you're the only makeup artist on the set, then by default you are the department head, or it's you and one other makeup artist. So you are the department head in the key, even though you may not have a lot of experience in the film industry, but because there are only two people on the film, the way that the titles work is department head and key. That's just the professional titles that you go underneath. But you learn a whole lot in order for you to decide, one, if you want to get into the union, or two, if you want to continue in the independent world. There's no disrespect if you want to stay in the independent world. You can make a lucrative living in the independent world if you're non-union and do those things as well. Also, if you work in reality, a lot of reality is non-union. So a lot of times the rates are a little bit higher in non-union reality shows as well. If you work in commercial, not all commercials are union. If you work in special event, like corporate events, okay? So if you're doing corporate commercials, majority of the time they're non-union. If you do corporate commercials, that's when the rate is sometimes a lot higher, okay? So normally when you're doing corporate things, the rate sometimes is between $500 to $850 a day, exactly right. And you normally don't work a 12-hour day. You normally work between an 8 and a 10-hour day if you're doing corporate things. And the reason why is because you're going to somebody's actual real job. And normally people that are not in our industry work between 8 hours a day, okay? So sometimes it's a little bit shorter. Sometimes it's 10 hours because they give you time to set up and time to also pack your things as well, so you can get those as well. So in those 8 hours, they can use that time accordingly and effectively. So if you're doing commercials and they're non-union, then a lot of times the rate is higher. And that's the time that they also say, hey, what is your rate? So if you're doing, again, non-union commercials, I would say start at, if you're brand spanking new, I would say start at $350 to $500 an hour. If you've been doing this for a while, stay between $500 and $600 an hour. And if you've been doing it for a really long time, I would say start between $650 and $850 an hour. And if you can get a kit rental, then this is the time that you want to negotiate a kit rental. So what's a kit rental, Shannon? All right. So now that you have your rate, we talked about your initial rate. You now need to bring all your makeup with you and all your brushes with you and all of your talent with you, but specifically your makeup and your brushes. That is called your makeup kit. I know, because you have one, right? So they are renting your kit. So if your rate is $150 for that non-union, independent film, you can also say, but can I also get a kit rate? And that kit rate can be between $25 and $50 an hour. I mean, not an hour, $25 to $50 a day. All right. And then you would negotiate that within it. And if you're doing those commercials as well, if your rate is $350, that may include your kit, or you can say an also additional $25 to $50 for a kit for that day. So let's do the math real quick. If it's $350 for your day rate and it's $50 for your kit, it ends up being $400 a day. If you are doing $150 for that independent low film, and then they're saying, okay, and we also can pay you $25 a day for your kit rental, then now it's $175 a day. All right. So that's a way for you to be able to supplement some of your money. If you cannot get money that way as well, when you're working in independent films, sometimes they will give you supplies, give you a budget for supplies in order for you to, get some of the makeup that they need for the film. What I would like to say is use that supply money to really be able to replenish your kit with what you need in order for that to work. That's a way if you kind of getting your kit rental fee without having to pay your kit rental. I mean, without them paying your kit rental, and yet you still feel like, all right, well, they didn't pay me my kit rental, but I was able to get some of the makeup that I really needed and I really wanted in order to be able to do this film appropriately and everything to be well. And you're not just, exacerbating your kit and not having anything to show for it or anything to go back for it. I also would suggest for independent film, when you're getting paid, if there's something specific that an actor wants or something that's specific that's for that film, let's say an effect that you have to do, or the actor is allergic to most of the makeup that you have in your kit, you can sometimes go to the producers and you can say, hey, I know that you don't have a lot of wiggle room for makeup. I know that you're not paying me a kit fee, but this particular actor is allergic to this things, or I need this particular blood, or whatever it is. Can production pay for it in order for that to happen? And 99.9% of the time they say yes to that, because it's order for them to make their project look amazing, in order for you to create the project that they want to look amazing. So that's another way for you to kind of get paid without getting paid and getting the supplies you need in order for you to do the job you want. And you don't have to give them the makeup when you're done. They really don't want it, because they can't use it, and majority of the time it's been used for your project, unless they ask for it back. And if they ask for it back, then for all intents and purposes, give them used makeup back if that's what they want. So non-union jobs, it just depends on where you're at. The rate is a lot lower. You negotiate a lot more of what you want. There, a lot of times they will tell you what the rate is. You can decide if you want to do it or if you don't want to do it. Another rule of thumb with getting paid for non-union jobs, specifically for lower budget films and independent projects, is sometimes you're saying, okay, well, Shannon, you know what, $200 a day is not a lot of money. I'm not sure if I can do that or not for a 12 or 13-hour day. But if you're going to work for 60 days straight, $200 a day is $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week. No, it's $800. Yeah, it's $1,000 a week. Sorry, I'm not doing my own math. If you're working 5 days a week, 2 times 5 is 10, so that's $1,000 a week. If you're working for, for an entire month, then that's $4,000. If you're working for 2 months straight, that's, $8,000. $8,000 in 2 months, not including a kit, isn't horrible money. All right. If you look at it that way. So sometimes if the days outweigh the pay, it ends up evening itself out. But again, you're the person that has to make that decision to decide if it's something that you want to do. And also speak up. Just because they told you that doesn't mean that's something that you have to take. And sometimes every job isn't for every person. As we're starting out, you want to get paid, but you also want to be respected in this industry, and you want to also not get downplayed about it. All right. So that's the prayer department today, talking about non-union and getting money and getting paid and standing up for yourself, and also knowing what the rates are. So therefore, if somebody comes to you and it's a really, really low rate, don't be shocked. Okay. If it's a non-union independent thing, they normally are lower. All right. But doesn't mean that you can't do it. And it doesn't mean that it won't be, great at the end. All right. Have a great night. I hope you learned something.